Please stand for a moment of silence. Director Rowe, could you lead us in the pledge, please? You.
I know, I'm waiting for.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We ready, Al? Okay, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
Let's use yours, I guess. Whatever.
Okay. Board Secretary, roll call, please.
You can't believe it.
Director Herrick,
It fell on my pocket.
Director Hicks,
Here.
Director Melnick,
Here.
Director Putz, Vice Chair Segovia. Here. Director Rowe,
Here.
Director Russo,
Here.
Director Walsh,
Here.
Director Ziegler,
Here.
and Board Chair Rowe.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Director Putz has arrived.
Okay. Announcement and upcoming events. There are no announcements. Presentations. We have no presentations. Directors' general announcements. Do directors have any announcements for tonight's meeting? Yes.
Okay, the CSD engaged constructively and in good faith to resolve the fire protection district issue. The fire protection district appears to have no interest in maintaining this relationship. Under those circumstances, it is questionable to focus on the next year's budget before resolving the underlying issue between us. The City Gate report supported the numbers produced by Jeff Willis, showing call volumes 55 to 60% in the city. Citygate reported that the ski resorts account for an overwhelming number of calls with no financial support provided to the fire authority. Citygate found that 33% of the calls involves simultaneous incidents, most occurring in the West End, which severely strained the fire authority's ability to respond effectively to other calls. Visitors account for over a third of the calls with no financial support provided to the fire authority. Thank you.
Anybody else have an announcement? No? This is public comments. Okay. This comment period is dedicated for those items not listed on tonight's agenda. Okay, I have cards. As a reminder, any member of the public may address the board on items within the board's subject matter jurisdiction, but which are not listed on the agenda during public comment. However, no action may be taken on matters that are not part of the posted agenda. We request comments made for items listed on the agenda be made at the time the item is considered, and that all comments be limited to 3 minutes per person. This time limit may be shortened by the chair to accommodate a large number of speakers. Okay, ready. I have, Brian, you ready to, you want Dan to go
I always like going
first?
after Bill Branson, but I'll go first if you want.
Go ahead, they called you, don't be scared. Just because I'm right behind you doesn't mean.
Good evening, my name's Brian Parham. I'm sure you guys all know who I am. I recently retired, and now I have a lot of time on my hands, and part of that is being part of this community like I have been for the last, geez, it's been 38 years for that. And part of that is holding my elected officials accountable when I see behavior that I'm not happy with. And so what I'm referring to is, and I'm not going to say names, and they know who they are, is at a recent finance committee meeting, and I'm not picking, this is not picking stuff I'm trying to talk about. I'm talking about comments that go towards transparency, waste, fraud, and abuse. And what I heard at one of our recent finance committee, and though that person was not part of that committee, telling people in the audience that, it's none of your business what we do with our funds. I have higher expectations for the people who are running the city of Big Bear Lake. Part of my group that represents this fire authority board as well. And that one hurt. I didn't like that because that's one of the things that we all sit here and we strive to make sure our community knows that we're doing the best we can with what we have and how we do it. And so I do recommend, and I was unfortunately not able to make the fire protection district meeting because of previous engagement. But when I heard that and I watched it, I really was very much disturbed by that comment because that's not what we want inside of our community. So with that, like I said, I hope that behavior stops. I hope that we aren't doing things where we tell the community and or other public officials that it's none of their business in regards to financial, what we're doing with our money. That money actually was line itemed and it could have been easily probably directed for future fire services like I asked, which Director Herrick was nice to do. And I thought that was good because we do want to know where our money goes. You can't hide it. You can't say it's going somewhere in the future just blatantly and out without any type of accountability. And so I ask that you guys together work on trying to make sure that transparency comes back. My last piece is the forensic audit. I don't know when that's going to come back. I don't know when we're going to get a result, but I hope what I hear out of it that it was financially worth it because we've spent a lot of money on consultants, attorneys, forensic audits, and that's all money that the fire authority could have used. So when you arbitrarily make those, I really hope that you got something out of it. So I hope there's a report that we can see as part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Branson.
That'll be hard to follow.
Well, here we go. I'd like to talk about City of Big Bear Lake and their boondoggles and shenanigans. So you're absolutely right about what you said. It's unfair, it's unreasonable, and the City of Big Bear Lake is just taking advantage of the east side, and it's pretty pathetic how it works. And there's no reasonable because of all the things they're doing, like the 2050 plan. What a pile of dog crap that is. So, sorry about that, Larry. Just like Sacramento, all the way down, from top to bottom, is nothing but corruption. And people that don't know about it have their head in a gopher hole. It's pathetic. You guys took it. When you make a pledge to the flag, you're taking it to the Constitution also. And you should know and be aware of our tax monies. I think it's pathetic, unreasonable, and it's very sad that not even one word about it, not even at the League of Cities. All they care about is environmental equity. What does that mean, environmental equity? Everything is social justice. It's all DEI, and that's that crap that was 1.7 million. And just a couple of years ago, we spent over 300,000, 400,000 on Big Bear Vision, and now you have to do it again. Because obviously you screwed up the first time. Should be very easy to do. Shouldn't be that complicated, We don't want pollution. We don't want things like that. But I don't want all kinds of nonprofits making a ton of money and ripping off things. And then on the consent calendar, the Brown Act, we pulled 1.10, 1.11 off of the consent calendar. That should have been open for debate. When you take it off the consent calendar, and I don't know why you didn't know, you've been here long enough to know the Brown Act. When you pull it off the consent calendar, it goes to it as an agenda item. Period. And the citizens have a right to speak on it. And there's many other things I'm looking up in the Brown Act. Besides 1.10, 1.11 of jamming in so many things with so much money that's not right when the public gets 4 or 5 pages. And this is just half of the Big Bear Lake agenda. The other half I left at home. It was too heavy. My muscles were getting sore. And then try to, I'm starting over.
Sure.
That
Thank you.
That was it?
Yep.
Where's my 30-second warning? That's how I take my breath.
It was there.
It tries every way it can, doesn't it? Okay. Chief's report. There's no chief's report. Financial officer's report. Kristen, would you like to present your report, please?
This is the finance report as of February 28th, 2026. This is 67% into our fiscal year. Total revenues were at 58% as we await our second installment of property taxes, which will be arriving this month. And our expenses were within 2% of budget as we closed out February. That's all I have.
Any comments?
Kristen, were we over budget or under budget on expenditures?
Over by 2.
Over by 2? Yeah, what is that in English? How much money we're talking?
Year to date, our change in fund balance is negative 432 when we were expecting negative 537. So overall, we're actually doing better because of the revenues and the expenses combined together. So I'll get that number to you. This is more on an annual basis, so
Right.
I'll get it to you.
Right. And I understand that there is more money available from CSD. Is that true?
No, it's not. I checked with the finance officer at the CSD, and her property tax projections are actually a little bit lower than mine for this
Okay.
year.
So we're going with her numbers?
I'm going with mine because they were provided to us by our property tax consultants, but they are within 150,000 of each other, and we'll know by the end, mid-July, what it actually comes out to.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are considered routine and are to be approved with one motion unless a board member, staff member requests separate actions on specific items. Okay, board secretary, is there any member that wants to request?
I've received no requests.
No, we're good. So I'll read. Number 2 is approval of demands. Check issued 1/1/26 through 3/31/26 in the amount of $2,921,000 and $295.73. Approval of meeting minutes from the February 10th, 2026 regular meeting of the Big Bear Fire Authority. Approval of meeting minutes from the February 6th, 2026 special meeting of the Big Bear Fire Authority. Fiscal year 2024-25 audit reports for the Big Bear Fire Authority. And then we have a resolution appointing and designating a new board secretary. Okay. The board considered an adoption of the resolution of Big Bear Fire Authority 2026-001 to appoint Dakota Cotton to serve as board secretary of the board of directors of the Big Bear Fire Authority and rescind resolution number Big Bear Fire Authority 2023-005. Resolution number Big Bear Fire Authority 2026-001. A resolution of the board of directors of the Big Bear Fire Authority, a California Joint Power Authority, appointed and designated Dakota Cotton as an authority secretary and rescind resolution number Big Bear Fire Authority 2023-005. Okay, can I,
Have a motion?
yeah,
I would like to pull 3 on the consent calendar
okay.
before we.
What are you gonna pull?
He's pulling number 3.
Number 3.
Okay,
On the
number
consent
three.
calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to make a motion for the rest?
I had a
For
question.
approval on the balance.
I had a question about the resolution as well.
Okay,
So
thank you.
So I don't know which you want to do first.
are you pulling that one
So
also?
you're pulling out one as well?
I'm just asking a question.
I'm just asking a question.
Okay,
We can work backwards. I can say on the resolution, it says that she is now an employee of the authority. I know there was some discussion about whether the secretary is an employee of the authority or of the board. So if we approve this as an employee of the authority, does that mean she's not an employee of the board separately?
I think everybody's an employee of the board, of the authority, but it's a reporting relationship to the board for certain of those job functions. But we don't have any direct, you're an employee, while you report to us, the fire chief is an employee of the fire authority. Do I have that wrong?
As a, council.
Nick?
That description is correct, Director Milnick. She is an employee of the authority, and the board is, by this action, basically conferring on her the role of board secretary. Generally, for most matters, she reports to the fire chief. If there are concerns related to the role as board secretary, that can be handled a couple different ways, but it's correct in the resolution that she is an employee of the authority.
Not specifically of the board.
No, the board doesn't write the checks. It's not the board's checking account that she gets paid from. It's the authority.
Yes, but I asked at the time who is her supervisor then and who writes her performance appraisals. And I understood that that was still the chief and that she still answers to the chief, not necessarily to the board. There was that distinction being made in the meeting. That's why I asked.
Yes, as Perry pointed out, that's a reporting function and a management function, which is related to but different than who you are employed by. Is that?
Well, I asked because the distinction was made in that meeting that the board secretary is an employee of the board rather than the agency. And so now I'm hearing they are an employee of the agency and they answer to the chief. Chief.
I actually think you're hearing that she's an employee of the agency, and depending on what duties she is performing, she is either reporting to the board or reporting to the chief. There are 2 lines of reporting depending on which portion of her job that she's doing. But the board does not have any direct employees. We have reportees, but not direct employees.
That's correct.
Good, then that's the clarification I wanted. And then the other, you want me to go to 3?
yeah, that's what you wanted.
Okay, 3 said that the board had directed the 2 agencies to go get RFPs. My understanding of how this works is the board can direct the chief to get an RFP for the agency, which was not done. Instead, the 2 Fire Protection District and the CSD were told to go get RFPs. And my understanding of how this works is the authority board had no authority to do that. You can make a suggestion, but you cannot direct that either agency go out and do this. If anything, it should have been the fire authority action, and it was not.
Okay.
I'm not saying the minutes are done wrong, I'm just saying that
Would it be
that's,
acceptable with the board's approval to change the word directed to suggested?
okay
Did we
by
all
me.
vote on it?
Yes.
And Larry voted yes on it.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna change it?
We're just now approving the minutes.
Well,
I think it's really a moot point, one way or the other. I mean, if Larry feels better by us suggesting that it be done, then change it to suggest that it be done. I mean, clearly, the intent was for the two organizations, and both organizations agreed to do it, to go out and seek an RFP. Now, I don't know why we would spend a lot of time discussing one word on this. You know, it's history.
I think it is significant in that it suggests you've already decided there is no future for the authority, so there's no need to ask for an RFP.
I don't understand.
That, Larry, doesn't make any sense.
I think you are ignoring the fact that you didn't have the fire authority go out to ask for an RFP.
Nor did we direct the fire authority to go out and ask for an RFP. We, as a group, the 10 of us, said that we will individually, as organizations, go out and get RFPs from whoever we choose to. And
I specifically asked at the time to the chief, you got no marching orders to go get an RFP, correct? And you confirm that. And as I say, that suggests to me that you're already saying there is no future for the authority. And so you may not have pulled the trigger required by the JPA agreement, but you're already saying you want to end the association.
no, I think what we're saying is that we wanted to look at what the options are for both organizations to see what made sense. And if each going off for their own RFP made sense, then that made sense, or staying as an organization. So I'm not sure where you're coming from.
Are we
Larry.
talking presently? I mean, right now, Larry, you pulled the minutes from the last meeting saying that they were not correct based off of the discussions that we had. I'm asking, I guess we're asking, what is not correct? We're not relitigating whether we gave direction, because we didn't. The question is, what in here, absent that we actually said to go back to each of our respective boards to get approval to do that. All 10 of us approved going out as our two separate agencies to get quotes. So I'm not sure I mean, we could wordsmith.
Is it that simple, Larry, changing what was directed to suggested? Does that make you more comfortable?
I want to make sure that it is clear that the fire authority was not asked to go do an RFP.
I don't see anything
Do
in that statement.
the minutes not reflect that?
I want it specifically spelled out.
Okay,
I don't see how we can't change the minutes to that extent where we're putting words in now that I don't think were said at the time, Larry. And this says nothing about the chief anyway.
And we didn't have discussions about specifically the fire authority not doing things.
We did indeed, because I brought it up.
So you're saying the minutes are inaccurate then?
They're weak on that point.
So you want it noted, I'm sorry if
it's okay.
you want your comment noted, that you asked a question within the discussion of whether the fire authority gave the chief approval and the response you got
Or-
was no. Is that, I'm just trying to, because that wasn't the action that we took.
Didn't we make a motion and we all voted on it?
You made the motion to have CSD and Fire Protection District seek an RFP. You specifically did not, because I asked, direct the chief to go get one for the fire authority.
Right, there was not a motion that stated that we were not asking the chief.
As I said, it suggests to me that you already are saying there is no future for the authority, so there's no need to get an RFP.
I wouldn't draw that conclusion like that, because frankly, at this point, until one of the entities gives notice to leave the entity, to leave the JPA, there is a future. I mean, maybe later we'll have an opportunity, because I don't quite understand Director Russo's earlier comment, but I mean, we have a responsibility to budget, we have a whole bunch of things, and until such time comes that it may be dissolved, there is a future. I mean, for that matter, we could all, I don't know where this is going, but we could all say, yeah, whatever proposals we got, they don't work for us, we're just gonna keep going as we go. So to me, at least, it would be premature to make that statement or assert that.
Joe,
I think we're getting off
But-
Joe K, can we ask for either the question from Larry to either change it to something, or let's move on? Because I think, like Barry's saying, we're not getting anywhere with this, and if it's a concern about a word, or if later on, at the end of the meeting, he wants to make a comment, then he can, but for us to sit here and haggle over.
Larry, what
This.
would you like changed, specifically?
I would like it to reflect that the fire authority was not asked to seek an RFP.
Okay, is that a problem?
Yes.
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 So could I suggest this, please? Could we, if this is agreeable to Larry, could we ask staff to go back, listen to the recording, make sure that whatever is represented in the minutes is accurate, to double check it and bring it back to us, and we won't approve this one? Yeah? How about that?
Bring it up at next meeting.
Yeah,
Have them check.
Go back, double check, make sure it's accurate by listening to the recording, and then bring it back to us. If you question the accuracy of it, then let's ask them to redo it.
Okay.
Okay, you good with that? Okay,
Yeah, because I don't recall a motion being made.
Right.
For that. So I don't know what we would reflect. It was not a
I guess
motion that was
they
made.
will go back and check and see what,
Well, then I suggest we take two actions on the item. We'll take a separate action on the minutes,
and
as
then
if the minutes were pulled,
we'll do.
and do the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion for the remainder of the consent.
Second.
Who is,
Roll call,
who my
please.
second? Okay. This vote is for the consent calendar.
No, no, in front.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Except
Or
for.
We already spoke on it.
No, it was pulled off the calendar, and I want an opinion by the attorney. I can't make a point of order right here, but I can reflect 54954.3 in the Brown Act, that when things are pulled off and discussed, that I have a right to speak on those items. And so I'd like clarification from the attorney on that, because we just did it at the last meeting, and I believe it was totally wrong, but when you pull off items.
Are we having public comment right now? I'm confused.
Well, we can.
Yes, Dan feels that if an item is pulled,
Yeah.
that it opens up public comment again.
For that item.
For that
Yeah.
item.
Yes.
It should have been done last week at city council, and you're mistaken, and you should know that.
So is Dan running our meetings now, or
No,
are you running
we
our meetings?
I have the right to
He
talk.
has the right to talk. Let him talk.
May I make a suggestion, Dan, before you get going, that we vote on the remainder of the consent calendar,
Absent number 3.
absent number
Absent number
3, and then since there's going to be some discussion on number 3,
Mhm.
then at that point, Madam Chair, that if the attorney agrees with Dan, then we open up for discussion on item 3, but not until we get to that point.
Well, you made it like it was going to be at the next meeting after they review the speech.
I
So,
think we have to vote on that first, Dan,
Yeah.
before that.
right, but you still pulled it and, on 3 and 6. And so I'm waiting for,
Decision.
from the decision, from the attorney.
Wait a minute, Dan, let us vote on these items and then you can bring that up, okay? Hang on.
The idea is,
All right.
well, I don't know, I
Well,
want an
actually,
opinion
there
on
was
that
a-
too.
There was a motion and a second.
Yes.
We need a roll call, please. Just a minute.
This is just for the consent calendar and not item 3.
Correct.
Okay. So roll call. Okay, Director Ziegler? Director Ziegler for the consent calendar?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Right,
I move slow these days.
that's okay. Okay, Director Herrick?
Aye.
Director Hicks?
Aye.
Director Melnick?
Aye.
Director Putz?
Aye.
Vice Chair Segovia?
Aye.
Director Rowe?
Aye.
Director Russo?
Aye.
Director Walsh?
Aye.
And Chair Rowe.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 3.
Okay, Dan. Now you may go.
Well, I wanted,
Wait, hold on a second. Can we find out from the attorney, from Nick, if this is proper according to the Brown Act?
it was pulled off the,
Let's let Nick
consent
answer.
calendar. Well, he hasn't said anything, I've been waiting.
So can I just ask for clarification? Was it already requested whether members of the public had comments on the consent calendar
No.
before discussion started about items being pulled?
It said for items not on the agenda.
No.
We don't
Nicholas?
ever get comments
Nicholas?
on the consent calendar.
On the actual
It's included
script
in the-
for the meeting,
It's part of
it
general
does
public comment.
say, ask the board secretary if ever any member of the public has requested to speak on any item.
Okay. So just to be clear, members of the public have the right to comment on each agenda item. For consent calendars, usually those public comments are taken all at once in a 3-minute period. If there hadn't been a request for members to speak or nobody had raised their hand to speak on the consent calendar, then yes, they should have an opportunity to do so. So if it wasn't clear that the public comment period for consent calendar was closed, then there should be a right to provide public comment on agenda items.
There's a difference between the general public comment and then the consent calendar. So you're saying that I have the right to speak before the consent calendar, but when those items are pulled off and there's open discussion and a separate vote on each item.
No, I didn't say that. To clarify, you have members of the public have a right to comment on the consent calendar. The board could ask that at the very beginning before anything is pulled off or not pulled off, and you have an opportunity. When something is pulled off, you don't have a second bite at the apple. But my recommendation here would be, since there was not a request if there was public comment right at the beginning on any consent calendar items, that Mr. Gilbranson have the opportunity to speak on this one item that's remaining from the consent calendar, and that's item 3. But I want to be clear, it's not because it was pulled off.
Yeah, but they're doing general discussion on a specific item.
Are we gonna litigate this?
Right.
now?
Yes. It's important. It's part of the Brown Act. It's part of 54954.3, the public right to speak, and that it has to be transparent. Otherwise, it's a process of manipulation. So if you're going to speak about a certain item, then the public has a right to speak on it if you're going to discuss it.
Moving on. Okay, here we go. Sherry and Dakota, to the podium for the swearing in ceremony, please.
Wait, do we have?
Wait, we need to take action on item 3.
I'm sorry, what?
We need to take an action on item 3 regarding the minutes.
Madam Chairwoman, could I ask a question? This is Rick.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I guess the question is for Sherry and maybe Dakota. Was there anything that was inaccurate within the minutes that we're talking about on item 3?
No, there was not.
Okay. I just want to make sure of that. And I guess my only opinion is that we can constantly go back and insert our own opinions after the fact in the minutes, whether we took action. Well, we were supposed to report when we take action on in the vote. Other general comments usually don't make it in. You can, there's a certain term for it that I'm sure Nick will understand it. If you want to, you can put in a comment, a written comment. Yes. Nick, what's the term for that? It's the special term for it, actually putting it in. And I'll say after the fact, but it's your personal opinion regarding it or your personal thoughts regarding it. And oftentimes, I shouldn't say oftentimes, but that's one of the tools that can be done. I'm just concerned because we're going to back and revisit this. And if we do this constantly over and over again, I guess we all have the opportunity to insert our own thoughts after the fact regarding it. I would hope that if there's something Larry had a concern with regarding the minutes, he should have called maybe ahead of time and asked Sherry or asked Dakota what the inaccuracy was. But we're looking for accuracy, not inserting comments. Again, those are my thoughts on the minutes. So I can't really support going back and changing it at this moment, but I'll wait to hear if there's a motion and see where it goes.
Madam Chair, if I may. In the past, when I've had a director that has wanted a statement for the record, it's been appropriate for that statement to be made that I wish the record to reflect, and then we can identify that comment to that particular person. And usually it's rare and, but usually very important to the individual. So I have in the past done that. It's just, I would need during the meeting direction to say, let the record reflect. I want to say that this is not a direction to the authority to seek an RFP. And it can be taken care of simply like that. Okay. So, but that would be for future and reference for all of you, that if you want Dakota to reflect something in the record, it needs to be identified. So that way the directors all will hear the record's going to reflect that comment. Because you've adopted action minutes, which generally contain little to no discussion, but only identify subject matters that were discussed. It's not identified by individual. Otherwise, you get into what's called a summary set of minutes, which can be very subjective. So with the action minutes, it's just basically talking subject matters. But again, if that's the pleasure of the board, you can simply direct us to let the record reflect.
Okay.
Madam Chair, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion on the floor at this point?
No.
With a second?
We don't need to motion that, no.
No, we don't have a motion yet.
Okay, then I move that we accept the minutes from the meeting of discussion. What is it, February 10th meeting?
Yes.
As printed.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mm-hmm. Director Walsh.
No.
Director Ziegler.
No.
Director Herrick.
Yes.
Director Hicks.
Aye.
Director Melnick.
Aye.
Director Putz.
Aye.
Vice Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Director Rowe.
No.
Director Russo.
No.
And Chair Rowe.
No.
Madam Chairman, another comment, if I may. The word that I was looking for, and I believe it's actually in some of the rules I've read previously, I think it's maybe an addendum, but there's a way that you can actually attach your comments to the minutes when you're identified as that person. I would just suggest that since we have a split vote, I don't know how we're going to resolve this, that Larry put his thoughts down in writing and attached that to these particular minutes for the future so we can move on. We have a lot of very important things we have to cover here.
So will that be a motion, please?
Well, I don't know if it's a motion. I'm just suggesting that he follows some of the rules that we previously followed. And maybe not with this board. In fact, I don't have a recollection of this happening with this board, where you can actually put your thoughts in, and I think it's an addendum. There's another legal term for it, where you can insert your thoughts that are attached to the minutes, and they're your thoughts. They're not necessarily any action that was taken. Because I think Sherry is right. We really need to just focus on what action was taken and what vote was taken. Otherwise, again, if you try to capture everybody's comments, the minutes could be as long as the meeting takes place. So that would be my suggestion. And it looks like Nick has his hand up. He maybe has a suggestion as well.
I just wanted to note in terms of the formal rules of the Fire Authority Board, it says that directors may request for inclusion into minutes by the secretary brief comments pertinent to an agenda item. Such requests may only be made at the meeting at which the comments were made.
So the window is closed.
It's close.
So again, I would state, if you want comments, you say, state, let the record reflect, and those will be captured in the minutes for you.
Okay, once again, now that we can't change the previous minutes, I'll move that we accept the minutes from that meeting.
Can somebody who voted in favor of the same motion before bring it back, or does it have to be somebody who didn't vote for it?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, the motion failed, so.
You can bring back the same motion?
There's restrictions on that.
That's,
Okay.
would think.
I don't know what they are exactly, but
Nick,
otherwise you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over.
Nick, if somebody voted no on the last motion, are they the person who would have to bring forward to make the same motion again, to reconsider?
Generally, it has to be someone who voted no who makes a motion for reconsideration.
And if I could, Nick, if we don't approve these minutes, what's the ramification?
It can either be placed on the next meeting agenda, or there's not any significant legal ramification. It would just be an unapproved set of minutes that remains in draft form.
But there's no justification, they're accurate minutes for not approving it.
And
They just don't have something that Larry wanted included that he didn't include during the meeting. So I'm not understanding the no votes on accurate minutes.
But he wanted to have them go back and look
You
at them.
can't.
He didn't
can't
follow
change
the
it.
rules.
Oh, okay.
However, I did ask at the time.
Then perhaps we can revisit the meeting tape.
I'll be taking care of it at the next meeting,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to look at it again, and we can do it at the next
Yeah.
meeting. I'm happy to approve them, and I'll redo the minutes. I can make that a detailed set.
But I have a question then, you said we do summary minutes, wouldn't that be more like
Yeah,
we do action minutes? So wouldn't,
Yes.
what we're talking, what, if Dakota goes back and looks at it, isn't that more of a
No.
summary?
Because if he clearly stated for the record, and I didn't capture that, which I'm not saying that happened, but we can re-review it. If we make the determination that he stated for the record, then we can go back, amend the minutes, bring them back for reconsideration. So perhaps maybe the motion needs to be to direct the board secretary to revisit the tape and return the minutes at the next meeting for
If-
consideration.
If I can save you time,
Sure.
I did not specifically say, let the minutes reflect that I asked about this.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing now, is that
Right,
I did ask and confirm that
right.
it wasn't going to be done, which to me was significant. That's why I asked.
Okay.
But see, those sound to me like, because we all make comments, so
Right.
those to me sound like
Right.
more summary minutes.
Which is why I wouldn't have captured it.
Right.
And which means it can't be changed at this point. Unless we change our whole format on how we do report outs from meetings.
Well, no, you follow what you have right now, which
Yeah.
states.
Yeah.
That if you want to comment, it needs to be reflected at the time of the meeting.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Madam Chairman, it just, unless you can get a motion from one of the no votes, I suggest we move on and set this aside. And maybe bring it up again in a future meeting, but we're going kind of round in circles, unfortunately, now.
Somebody gonna make a motion? Larry? No? Okay. We're moving forward.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion on the resolution before you swear her in?
No, that was part of the consent calendar,
All right.
because there was a question.
Now, swearing in.
Yes. And with that, Dakota would join me at the podium. Okay. It's my pleasure to give you your oath of office. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name,
Dakota Connor,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
from all enemies, foreign and domestic,
from all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I bear true faith and allegiance
that I bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United
to
States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without mental reservation
without mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. And Dakota, I present this to you. This is your oath of office. And there you go. And I will stay until the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we have no public meetings. New business discussion calendar. Okay, I'm going to change things up. We're gonna go to the committee report. I'm gonna turn to Luke to give us a brief recap, please.
So at the Finance Committee meeting, Director Segovia raised concern with meeting participation by Chair Rowe, stating her concern was that the committee was to be equally represented by CSD in the city of Big Bear Lake, or Fire Protection District. For the record, Chair Rowe recused herself from any further participation and did not vote on any committee recommendations. Staff did determine that the board committee appointment process available to the interim board secretary was not updated to reflect the membership of the Finance Committee, and staff has since updated this document for future appointment reference.
Comment? No? Okay. Next item. Finance Committee update. Proposed amendment to the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and termination of the forensic audit. Chief Wagner?
All right, in response to ongoing funding discussions occurring since September 9th, 2025, Big Bear Fire Authority budget adoption, the Finance Committee and the full Board of Directors have been actively discussing how to move forward with the potential budget amendment that follows the 50-50 cost share outlined in the 2012 Joint Powers Authority Agreement, while also maintaining the current level of public services. For your reference, attached is a copy of the current approved fiscal year 25-26 budget. It's attachment 1. The Finance Committee met on March 12, 2026 to continue discussing options to move forward with a potential amended budget for Big Bear Fire Authority. During this meeting, as directed, staff presented a potential budget amendment showing property tax revenues reduced by $1,373,193 to accommodate the 50-50 cost shared outlined in the 2012 JPA agreement, while also accommodating for the Big Bear Community Service District's projected available tax revenues. This would result in a change in the current projected increase to fund balance of $1,244,292 to a budget deficit of $128,901. It's an attachment 2. Finance Committee unanimously supported presenting the Board of Directors a proposed amendment to the fiscal year 25-26 budget with a zero bottom line by reducing property tax revenues by approximately $1.2 million. Committee's recommendation also included the Big Bear Lake Fire Protection District funding an additional $128,901 to cover the budget deficit, ensuring no operational shortfalls. The budget amendment would result in a reduction of property tax revenues to Big Bear Fire Authority of $1,244,292 for fiscal year 25-26. Staff recommends the Board of Directors consider the following recommendations by its Finance Committee. Adopt the proposed amendments to the fiscal year 25-26 budget, in which approximately $1.2 million of property tax revenue is eliminated from the Fire Authority budget, and that the Fire Authority accepts $128,901 in additional property tax revenues from the Fire Protection District in order to reach a zero bottom line budget and maintain public services at current levels. Behind that document, you have all the attachments that were described.
Okay. Any board discussion? Oh, public comment first. Any public comment?
Check, does anybody have public comment for this?
For which part? This is for the finance.
All right,
Item
number,
number 7, yeah.
we've received no requests.
Okay. Any board discussion? Well, I'm gonna vote no. Because any deficit should come from reserves, according to the budget. And as for the termination of the forensic audit, we are elected officials. We speak from the voice of the people. And I believe that they should know what's in this report. It took a long time, like Brian said, and in good faith, we tried to resolve everything and go along with all of it. And I feel that the public should know what's in this report.
Who, if I may, who at the Finance Committee recommended killing the financial audit and why?
That was added by you.
Larry. No, Larry. Which
I
I have.
asked if it could be terminated and save $100,000. I was told it's too late.
Yeah.
Right, and I also wanted to know where Larry heard that our city manager said that the CLA audit wasn't needed. Where did you hear
But I heard that
that?
also. And I don't remember who I heard that from.
You
But
did
I
not hear it here, so where did you hear that?
I don't remember where I heard it from,
I'm not going to burn my sources.
but I did hear that as well.
Well, that is not a true statement, Larry. It was, the CLA audit was talked about at this board, saying that it would actually help both sides in the event of a dissolution.
You turned around to someone sitting behind you, I believe a finance officer from the city, and asked if that was public knowledge, which suggests you already knew about it.
That is not, Larry, that, you said that, we were talking about something else.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, I need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion.
To what?
For the Finance Committee update and proposed amendment of the Fire Authority, our fiscal year 2025-26 budget and termination of the forensic audit.
Of the 128,
The motion is to follow staff recommendations.
take it out of.
We're gonna approve this? The motion is to approve it.
Madam Chair, termination of the forensic audit is not included in this item.
Right,
Sorry,
yeah.
forensic
Yeah.
audit, sorry.
Yeah, I was confused because I didn't see that in this item, so I was wondering why you brought that up.
Well,
It was removed from both item 7 and 8, any discussion of the forensic audit.
It is in there.
well, that's what's in,
But no, it was removed from the action items. There's a note, of course, in the minutes, Director Walsh, but it's not in any of the action items that are suggested.
okay, somebody second?
What are,
Let's clarify what
What's the motion?
Okay, the motion is to propose amendment to the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget, which adds the 128,000 from the city, correct? And the termination of the forensic audit.
I just thought you said that
No.
that
No,
was not part of the
not.
action items.
Yeah.
It's not?
Yeah.
I can reread it.
Can I ask a question
Okay,
for people?
so are we just voting then on the amendment to the fiscal year 2025-26?
We're not voting on anything because there's no second motion.
I'm just trying to find out what the motion is before we get a second. Yes.
So we are currently on discussion item 7, Finance Committee recommendations, proposed amendment to the fiscal year 25-26 budget, which does not include discussion of the fiscal audit.
And you said that this was approved unanimously, this budget amendment out of the finance committee? Is that correct from everybody on the finance committee? So
It unanimously supported presenting this to the
To
board.
bring it to the board, to bring it back to the board.
okay, so
It was
that's
unanimous
different
to bring it
than
back to the board.
approving bringing it back to the board is different than supporting it.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a clear distinction, which is to present it to us and understand it versus it was unanimously approved as.
Well, it wouldn't be 128,091 anyway, it would be 128,901. It's just a swapping the numbers.
So we have somebody give the motion again, Jess, and then see if there's a second out there so we can figure out where we are, please.
We are making a motion on proposed amendment to the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. The amendment to that budget. We have a motion. Who's gonna make a motion?
I'll make a motion. For the budget.
Second? Is this going nowhere?
Second, let's do something with this, please.
Discussion.
Roll call, please.
We can have discussion after that,
After the vote or after?
after the first and second.
Right.
Right. Or we go right to a vote.
Because I would agree that. now
It should be an
No, it's-
opportunity to
right.
discuss it after the first and the second.
So it's open for discussion.
Roll call?
No, we have to have
No,
discussion.
Are we
What?
discussing still?
Are these numbers based off of actuals or is this off of the original budget? So is this 128,901, not 091 number, actuals of what is needed to fund the fire authority through the rest of the fiscal year? Or is this based off of the budget that was done just getting rid of the additional amounts that we were going to put in for reserves?
This is based on budgeted figures. We won't know actual property taxes. We haven't even received our second installment of it yet. So we won't know until mid-July what the final property tax numbers are for each site. So this is purely based on budgeted projected numbers.
So the amount that we're approving could be virtually irrelevant based off of actual expenses and revenues that come in. Do we have a sense of?
It will likely differ. It's often very close. However, we do need to, if these funds are not going to come to the fire authority, we have to make an amendment to the budget. We can't wait until after the close of the fiscal year and then adjust the budget to actual. We have to make an amendment to the budget this fiscal year. And we'll find out what the results of that are in mid-July.
But doesn't the budget that we already approved include all of these funds? So we're amending it on paper, but we already approved a budget that includes all of,
We did.
an additional, so I'm trying to understand, if we already have a budget that approves this? What is this exercise for?
So we have a budget that approves full funding from both sides. And this budget approves the budget without full funding from the Fire Protection District to bring us, instead of having a bottom line of 1.2 million to put into reserves, this brings us to a bottom line of 0 with no money going towards savings.
But you still have reserves.
We still have reserves, yes.
I would prefer to restate it as the original budget includes disproportionate funding. And this new budget includes funding that's consistent with the JPA. Actually, still not, because we're paying 128 grand more, but more consistent with the JPA agreement.
I'm just wondering if it's just an exercise on paper versus, if we don't amend this, is there anything that's not going to get paid?
There isn't.
So all firefighters are going to get paid, all of our bills are going to get paid, everything is going to run the way it is. So help me understand. I'm just trying to understand. So what I heard was, if we don't approve this, then we're going to run out of money, but we're not.
No, the idea is that this plan will allow us to continue operations as they are. We simply won't have the $1.2 million to put in reserves, but we do need to make, if the money is not going to be passed through, we do have to make a budget amendment, or our auditors will ding us for why we were out of balance by $1.2 million from our budget. So we would need to make this
but that's different than if we don't amend the budget, we're going to have to make cuts. If we don't amend the budget, do we have to make any cuts to the current services that we are providing?
No, in the recommendation at the bottom here, it says, in order to reach a 0 bottom line budget and maintain public services at current levels.
But that's what I'm understanding. If we do not, I don't know how else to ask this. If we don't pass this budget, do we have to cut any services that are currently being provided?
No.
And all of our bills will get paid regardless of whether we amend the budget. So we will cover all of our current services and pay all of our bills, regardless of whether we do this.
That's correct.
Okay. The only issue potentially maybe is if we don't take any action, there may be an issue with the auditors. So that's the only issue. Our bills will get paid and services won't be cut.
Our budget needs to reflect
accurately what we're doing.
So we do need to make an adjustment if it's decided that funding is not coming in, we need to make a budget adjustment.
But if I'm understanding, Fire Authority doesn't decide whether that money is coming in. That's not this agency, right? So regardless of what we do on the budget at Fire Authority, another agency needs to take action to make a determination of what funds come in. So this budget doesn't change what another agency has to do as it relates to funding.
Correct.
Thank you.
Director Walsh?
In September, when we went through all the permutations of budgets and finally ended up with one that was approved, was it not a budget that called for 8 million from fire protection and 6 million from the CSD?
Yes, that is what was approved. That is our current budget.
So it was never modified from that.
It was not.
Okay. Ready for a motion?
I have a question, if that's all right. May I go?
Yes.
Okay. So Chris, I have a question for you. And this is maybe was a little bit murky in my head in finance. But at the end of the day, with this adopted budget, and we get to the end of the year, I don't think we're going to be 50-50. Besides the 128, it looks like there's going to be a larger amount. We're actually not at 50-50. Do you know about how much that is approximately? And how much more we're putting in than CSD? Because I believe it's a little bit more than insignificant.
I'll have to calculate that number for you, but I will get that to you based on what this budget is representing. I don't have that number in front of me, but I'll get it to you.
Okay, so but just in round numbers, this is, and I'm just taking a wild stab at it. Let's say it's $1 million, and I don't think I'm too far off. Maybe it's 800,000 approximately plus the 128. So we still would be putting more in under the adopted budget. I just want to make sure it's clear for everybody who's voting on it.
I do have that.
And I'm actually, in order to keep the fire department operating at its current levels while we're going through everything that we're going through right now, I'm fine with that. The most important thing, I think, for me at least, is that it's accounted for. So we'll be able to account and look at what that difference is at some point. And I know that the revenues could be a little bit different, but in round numbers, let's just say it's 800,000 plus the 128. Am I way off base, or am I
Actually,
close enough that we can get a number later?
Sorry, on attachment C, page 2, there's a footnote that says the FPD property tax contribution in this scenario would be $1,018,346 more than the CSDs.
Okay, well then that was the point I was trying to drive home. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So again, I'm comfortable with it, although it's an awful lot of money and we're still out of balance. At least it is properly accounted for, which has always been the issue previously, where it was swept under the rug and we didn't get a chance to even, let's say, debate it. So hopefully everybody else kind of understands the point I'm making on this. But again, I have a comfort level because I don't want to see us jeopardize service, at this stage right now. And I think we do need to go ahead and make the amendment. We'll see how the votes fall. Thank you.
I think I'm back to being confused because what I'm hearing from Rick is that we need to make these amendments so we don't underfund the fire authority. But what I heard from Kristen 3 times is that even if we don't make these changes, we're fine. So I'm trying to understand that if I'm not understanding things correctly, because I don't want to not fund what we need to fund the fire authority, but I don't want to amend budgets for the sake of amending budgets that don't need to be amended, because what you said is that we're not underfunding and that we can pay all of our bills.
So our current budget shows that the fire protection just.
I understand that.
But if you would let me finish, we could put, it would be an additional 1.2 to the bottom line. So in either scenario, we're going to be able to pay the bills and not cut services. The problem that we're going to run into is next fiscal year, no matter what that looks like, with the Tran loan, we're going to have to add another $1 million because of this $1 million not coming in. So that's really the bottom line problem of this. But as far as covering expenses and cutting services, that's not going to happen in any scenario that we're presenting here today.
Does that help? Except for what Rick said, right?
I have a question,
Okay.
if I could, and it's trying to get clarification on what Rick said. Before Rick spoke, I was under the impression that the fire protection district was overpaying, if you will, $128,000 because we removed $1.2 million from the budget. But Rick, if I'm following what you're saying, is even if we do what's presented here and proposed here, we're still, fire protection district is
$1 million more.
paying $1 million more.
Correct.
If we were concerned about the 50-50
Correct.
parity. Did I get that right, Rick? Is that match your?
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah. And again, my comfort level is that we're finally accounting for it. Finally, this difference. It is visible. It's not hidden. It's very transparent, this number. And it used to be even worse, but we never had any transparency on it, at least not for me. So this way it's transparent. We can take a look at it, but we don't have to cut services. If we, as the district, were to hold back and only match CSD, then yeah, we'd be in a larger deficit. And I think there would have to be service cuts in between now and I'll say the end of the year, end of the fiscal year. Christian, am I right with that? if we match 50-50 only?
Correct.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, if we approve the recommendation, Fire Protection District is still contributing over $1 million to the budget.
Yes. Any of this is fine.
At the September meeting, first out of the gate was Director Melnick reminding us that we all agreed to the authority agreement and specifically that we were looking at a 50-50 split. We then were presented with a budget that was 8 million, 6 million, not 50-50. So I voted no. And then, as Mr. Herrick pointed out, I voted no on every proposal that followed that because every one of them was 8 million, 6 million. Now, if the Fire Protection District didn't want to do that, why would you approve a budget that was clear, transparent, self-evident, right in your face, as Kristen has done for the last several years, always put the numbers out there, we could see what it was, and yet you voted to approve it.
I think we got to the point where, Larry, we were running out of time and we're getting tired of playing the game. We were bumping up against, and Kirsten, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there is some time limit that you run into where if you don't have a budget in place as a governmental authority, you're looking to have problems on a state level, I believe. And we were starting to bump up against that time limit, unless I'm mistaken on that, because that's why we finally broke down and said, we're going to remove the cost of redoing a roof in one of the fire stations, and let's get this budget, this something approved. We will discuss later removing our excess amount from this, just so we could have a budget on the table. Larry, that's why we did it, if my memory serves me.
I think that was part of it. I think the other part was us not being comfortable, at least from what I call Fire Protection District, not being comfortable with cutting the services that were being provided to the Valley while we were trying to work through the issues with the JPA, getting an understanding of service levels that are not as disparate as Bob put forth in his comments at the beginning. That was not accurate from Citygate at all. John, sorry. That was not accurate. Getting an understanding of where the JPA was, but understanding that we have an obligation to the fire authority and to this community to make sure that we are providing services that we are. And so we approved a budget because we needed to be able to provide services on top of having an obligation of a time frame from being a government authority. That's my recollection.
Right.
And yes, I agree that that was the justification for going ahead was we'll work this out. That was in September. It didn't get worked out. In May, when the initial presentation was the 8 million, 6 million split, the same thing was said. We'll work this out. And it wasn't worked out by September. It wasn't worked out the last budget we had or the budget before that. And so I think at least as frustrated as Mr. Herrick when he says, I'm causing problems here, that if you wanted a 50-50 budget, it was put before you that it was 8-6. Why would you go ahead and prove that? And then when we bring up that we need to revisit this because we simply don't have more than 6, we don't get more than 6, we have no way to generate more than 6, then we're told, oh, it's premature to discuss. That was your term.
Larry, because no matter how many times we talked about this at that meeting, there was always, guess what, a 5-5. We were never, ever going to come to some conclusion on this budget, and we might as well have we continued down this road. We may as well have shut the doors because somebody else was coming in to take over this authority because we couldn't manage our own finances. Now, that's why we finally sat down and said, okay, we'll do it. We'll talk about how to fix this at a later date, but right now, if we want to keep fire service in this valley under our control, we need to get a budget on the table. And as Perry said, that was part of the reason why we did what we did. Now, we can sit back now and change the story, but we were not going to pass a budget. Every time someone brought up an idea and a recommendation around this table, guess what? The CSD was on one side and the Fire Protection District was on the other. 5-5, no budget passed. We had to do something so our firefighters could get paid and we stopped playing the game. That's what it was about, Larry. And all we're saying right now is we're not going to pay the $1.2 million, or at least we accept as an authority that we're not going to get $1.2 million from the Fire Protection District. And we will balance this budget and we will go forward. That's where we are. It's not that complicated. We're going to have the money we need to do the job for this valley. This continued going around and around just doesn't make any sense.
If I could add to that comment, at the Finance Committee is actually where Kitty did a great job of presenting how we could have a balanced budget at 50-50, but it included things that were not tolerable to many people, many board members, including brownouts, including some severe cuts that would get us to that point. And I think I might have even made the motion right off the bat to accept the Finance Committee's recommendation, which was to bring it to the board. And it seemed like at the time with the Finance Committee that it was acceptable, at least in discussion, for discussion purposes, to bring it to the board. But again, I mean, we went around and around in circles. I don't know how many motions were made. I kind of lost count. My head was spinning after a period of time. And we couldn't get to the point of actually passing a budget. So at that particular point, it looked like these severe cuts were not going to go through. The recommendation from the Finance Committee was not going to happen. And I agree, we needed to get a budget passed at the time. But at the time, this is just me personally talking, I was hopeful that we'd end up with some resolution that we could figure out. I'm obviously less hopeful now because we keep splitting 50-50, or we keep splitting votes 50-50. And it's very hard to move forward. So again, I hope that we will pass this, and I hope that we can move on. I hope the services will be not altered for our constituents in the valley. And I know for a fact that this is well accounted for now, what that difference is. And that's where my level of comfort sits.
Okay, are we ready for a motion?
You're already on.
May I suggest we
Okay,
get
you
up?
did make it.
For clarity, can we please restate what the motion is?
Okay. You gonna say something?
Something we should put on the budget or put on the agenda about visiting the JPA, redoing the JPA.
We'll talk about
Because
that
there's
directly.
we know what we can put in and what the fire authority puts in, or the fire protection agency puts in. It's tax money. And we should, we need to figure out if this is going to taxes, shouldn't it go to the fire authority?
Can we talk about that later? I think we have a motion on the table right now.
But I want to make sure that all deficits come from the reserve at this point.
Did you ask for a restatement of the motion?
Okay? Roll call? Let's get this done.
I'm gonna restate the motion for clarity, since it's been a long discussion since we've said, if we ever said what it was. Adopt the proposed amendments to the fiscal year 25-26 budget, in which approximately 1.2 million of property tax revenue is eliminated from the BFA budget and that the BFA accepts $128,091 in additional property tax revenue from the Fire Protection District of Big Bear Lake in order to reach a zero bottom line budget and maintain public services at current levels.
And you just second.
All right.
And could I just clarify, since this is money, does it take 7 votes? We're passing a budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, roll call please.
Vice Chair Segovia,
No.
Director B. Rowe,
You have to speak up.
Director Bob Rowe,
I don't even understand. Are we funding the 128 out of this budget?
It was your motion.
so this would be for the Fire Protection District to fund that $128,000.
No.
Director Russo,
No.
Director Walsh,
No.
Director Herrick,
Yes.
Director Hicks,
Yes.
Director Ziegler,
No.
Director Putz,
Yes?
Director Melnick,
Yes.
Board Chair J. Rowe.
No.
Motion fails.
It was your motion.
It's,
Sometimes you
Budget
pass
is
a
it.
motion just to get something to happen. Did you give us a count? Other than just that it didn't pass, it was 6-4?
Yeah, 6-4.
7-4 is what I'm sorry, 7-3.
Wait a minute.
That can't be right.
That's not.
No, it's
I-
6-4.
6-4. Vice Chair Segovia.
Herrick, Putz, Hicks,
She
and
said
Melnick voted yes.
Oh, yeah.
okay, good,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
I guess I'll go back to, and this has come at a bunch of meetings, which is, you proposed that we need to change the budget, and I suggested that you come back with suggestions to what those cuts should be, so we could get a budget. And I would ask that if you want to vote no on budgets all the time, to come forward with suggestions for what you want to change or cut from the budget, so we can pass a budget. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know that it's appropriate now, but I would love to hear why the people that voted no on this, what the justification is for it. And then I'm also curious where that leaves us now. So then the previous budget is in place, right?
With the present.
And then what?
Who's on the finance committee?
And Rick?
Rick, or Director Hicks,
Director Eric Hicks,
and
Walsh.
Director Walsh, and Director Rowe.
So this amendment was unanimously approved out of finance to come to us, but they were not in favor, at least half of it
Right.
was not in favor of it.
Yeah, they wanted to bring it to the board. Right. The full board.
All right.
Okay. Yes.
Director Melnick's comment mirrored what Director Putz brought up at the time. And I have said in the past what I thought should be dropped. And apparently no one was listening because you asked again, well, then what do you want to do? I don't want to spend money on nickel and diming things that don't fight fire. So that's why I said no. What the opinion that came out of this later was this shortfall can come out of the reserves. We have reserves, use them. There's no need for Fire Protection District to cough up another check. We have a way to deal with it. under our current operating system. And I repeat, Kristen has never swept anything under the rug, hidden things, tucked things away. How many years have you been at this now?
9 years.
Okay. Prior to Kristen coming on, it was not uncommon for us to receive a one-page budget. So I was glad when Kristen came on and started putting things in silos so that we knew how much was spent on salaries, how much was spent on benefits for each of the tasks this agency does. That has not been a secret. It's been out in front so that the board, all 10 people, could look at it and vote to either approve or not. And I remind you that the budget that was approved in September was not a 5.5, it was an 8.2.
And the deficit should come from reserves.
That would require a motion. Or I would ask Kristen, does it require a motion? If you don't get the money from Fire Protection District, you would take it out of reserves if it's necessary.
We would then approve potentially the amended budget that shows a loss of 128,000, the one that we brought to the Finance Committee. That would be the difference. We would adopt that one instead of the zero balance one.
But it would require
use of
supermajority to revise your budget.
It would, yes.
Okay. Finished? Okay. Moving on. Moving on to director's closing comments. Anybody have any closing comments?
As stressed that the agreement called for a 50-50 split, I would ask you to note that the wording said that it would be prorated or apportioned to each agency. Well, if you go back to the beginning, this agency was supposed to be populated by 3 fire agencies. And so the initial number of 50-50 was simply the amount that was going to be spent to pay for a shared chief and an assistant.
Madam Chair, you know, this would be a good future agenda item. I don't think this constitutes, you can ask Nicholas, a general board ending comment. Because all of this is very debatable. And I think there are many people who have maybe different thoughts than Larry has. So I would hope that we just could stick to our general comments. And if we need to bring this back for general discussion, then we make notice so that we're also notifying the public. That's what we're talking about.
I did not yield the floor, but as is your habit, you work quickly to sign.
That's what it called. When you're violating the rules, I'm going to bring up, it's a point of order. And I can interrupt anybody for a point of order at any time, Larry. So it's a point of order. And if you'd like to get Nicholas's opinion on it, I would be more than happy to do that. But the fact of the matter is, you're discussing something of which should be a future agenda item, properly noticed so we can discuss it. Otherwise, we'll get into a debate and I can debate against you at any time, but this is not the place to do it at this time. So I'm asking the board chair to please, we need to move on so that we do not violate the basic rules of the Brown Act by having a discussion regarding them.
Nicholas.
Any other comments? I just have one. At your fire protection district meeting, could you clarify, please? At the end, there was a proposed action to dissolve the JPA and look at other options for the county.
I don't want to get into a discussion, but there was no action item to dissolve the JPA. There were two. I would encourage you to go back and listen to the meeting again. There were two proposed discussion items to be brought back, but there was no vote to dissolve the JPA.
Okay.
There was a proposed to bring back a discussion of dissolving the JPA, which is very different than a decision to dissolve the JPA, as well as to discuss the quotes that that the Fire Protection District received from the county in public session. So those would be public discussions.
Thank you.
But there was no vote to dissolve the JPA.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments? No. Okay, all right. So then we're going to we're gonna go into closed session, and we have 3 items: conference with legal counsel and anticipated litigation. Conference with legal counsel on existing litigation with the professional firefighters, and conference with labor negotiators, agencies, designated representative Luke Wagner, Fire Chief, Employee Organization, Big Bear Fire Professional Firefighters Association. Does the public have any comment on these?
Yep. Anybody else? Larry, I know you're a little older than me, so you could probably tell me about the Hatfields and McCoys when your spare time, but right now. But it seems like to me, this go-around's been going around for quite a while. And I see it mostly the fault of Big Bear Lake. This month in their budget, there's over $80-some thousand in attorney fees. How much of that went for this? It was just 80,000 for 1 month. And we're gonna have plenty of problems going on over with the trailer park and this crummy 2050 DEI program. It's nothing but progressive. That when I'm gonna put a California Records Act in, find out how much has been spent for, what was it, in the last 8 months? It seems like it. I may be off a few months. But if you're spending a ton of money to sue CSD, and then they have to get a lawyer, you have to get another lawyer, it seems like a diaper load of attorneys. It's more of a waste of money that should have been handled like gentlemen and gentlewomen. But if somebody starts a lawsuit or anticipated litigation, when somebody's thinking it's unfair, what do you expect the other party to do? Spending money for something that you guys can't solve? I see it here tonight again. I've seen it before. When we have a city that spends a ton of money on things, and I see a lot of wasted boondoggles, especially that 2050 grandiose project that's just a leftist propaganda. It's ridiculous. And I'm not sure why some people are for it and excited about it. It's not exciting. It's spending a ton of money. It doesn't end. So why don't you guys get together and stop this stupid lawsuit and sit down and talk about it? That might solve part of the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbertson.
Okay, thank you. Our next regular meeting will be on May 12th, 2026 at 5 o'clock. And this meeting is now closed at 6:34.